We will be going through this exactly like I've done 1,000 times. When I was a kid and played a game where you whisper in someone's ear and then the next person whispers until everyone in the circle hears the story, by the time you reach the last person, it's not the same story. To avoid this, we will go through this thoroughly so you can see for yourself how each part builds on the part before. The easiest way to get the most benefit from the grid is to have an open mind for the next few hours so you can truly experience all the grid has to offer. People from all walks of life can utilize this process. If you are drawn to the prayers, use them. If you don't want to use the prayers, use your own or simply pause. If I've overlooked anything, this is your journey. No need to become stuck with a prayer or a different concept. Like I mentioned, you can use that moment to pause and center yourself. Getting grounded and finding your center is what will serve you most. Before we start step 1, this moment is about connecting, quieting the mind, and setting our egos aside. Use prayer or mindfulness to stay focused on something bigger than yourself. Pray or pause to quiet your mind and heart. Pause with a moment of silence.
Keep an eye out for spiritual awakenings while taking someone through the grid. Here's a hint that a spiritual awakening might be happening. If you start hearing or thinking, "I never thought of it like that," just know you are having one. A change in thought patterns can change everything. Other option. Notice when or if you have a simple change in perspective.
Now we're going to plug into the steps. This will give you a very in-depth look at how you can utilize the grid in everyday life at any time. If you're familiar with the 12 steps, this can enhance your understanding of them. If you've never seen them, this will not only introduce you to the steps, but will give you a working knowledge that can give you results almost immediately. So step 1 is, we admitted we're powerless over alcohol or drugs, that our lives had become unmanageable. We're going to ask, do you have a history of relapse? Pause, think about it. Check the box yes or no. There is not a right or wrong answer. This is just to give you a reference point.
The most important thing to do is establish a history of relapse. If the person is unsure of the subtleties of a relapse, explain the following scenarios. If someone has tried to stop drinking and/or using by telling themselves or others, "I'm not going to drink or drug anymore," only then to find themselves with drink in hand or using again, this alone can establish a history of relapse, powerless over alcohol and/or drugs. This allows them to identify a time when they have been powerless, thus identifying with step 1. Once they understand the pattern of relapse, that is step 1. The unmanageable part is thinking, drinking, or using is an option if they are powerless over alcohol and/or drugs. First and foremost, our unmanageability is within us. We are battling with the mind. This creates the understanding our focus should always be directed inward to find the source of our problem.
Many times people have done this step by listing outward circumstances that they are powerless over. This process gives you a specific moment when you drank or used after you said you were not going to. This inward approach changes everything. It doesn't matter if you're a millionaire or homeless, being powerless over a substance is the same. Powerlessness is when you do it again after you said you weren't going to. Unmanageability is when we think, hey, I'm going to do that again even though I'm powerless. Review step 1. The most important thing is to understand the unmanageability is not about what's going on outside of us, but the unmanageability that is within us. It's critical we shift this process from outside unmanageability to what's happening in our own thoughts and minds.
Before moving to step 2, remember, it's important to honor and hold the person's spiritual, religious, or lack of a religious practice with the highest regard. Gaining sobriety is our number one priority. We don't want our prejudices or their preconceived ideas to block the information we will be presenting over the next couple of hours. A power greater than ourselves can be as different as the people we meet. People use different ways to convey this point. The following shows us several options. 3 specific concepts. A power greater than myself is something outside of myself, telling me something I don't know. You and I together are more than just you. Using a fellowship meeting itself. Or find one of your own concepts. If you are an atheist or an agnostic and you bristle when you hear or see the word God, we've found an acronym for God that helps those who wish to benefit from a 12-step program but struggle with using a specific noun. The acronym is G, good, O, orderly, D, direction. One of the most important aspects of Step 2, we never have to be alone again.